Hello all supporters of the Animal Justice Party and of me as a member, the first member in Australia. Today is really, in a sense, an historic day in the Legislative Council of New South Wales and a Parliament in Australia, because actually 4 issues pertaining to animals and the protection of animals and their well-being were raised in the House by 3 different parties. So firstly, there was my announcement of a bill to ban the use of primates in medical research. So that would be an amendment to the Animal Research Act, so that the use of primates, the breeding of them and the transport and sale of them would become illegal under the Animal Research Act once this bill is put up and voted upon this year. The second issue which I raised was via a petition of about 850 people who signed a petition calling for the removal of all of the dolphins from the dolphinarium up in Coffs Harbour because of the cruelty, the distress and the suffering that those animals undergo, the fact that they're in such confined spaces, that their behaviour is becoming aberrant, that they're developing abnormalities because of the inbreeding. So the call is for that place to be shut down and for the dolphins that are there to be moved to an open ocean sanctuary, because they can't be returned to the wild, because they wouldn't survive, because they haven't developed the skills to survive as a wild animal, but they can certainly enjoy many behavioural needs in a much larger space in an ocean sanctuary. So that petition was filed with the Parliament and it was accepted because it was well over 500 signatories. And the third issue that came up for me in the House was a question to the Minister for Primary Industries, Niall Blair, as a consequence of the situation at the Koala Park in Western Sydney. And the reason I raised this question, which is the second question to him about this particular koala park, is because that the Parramatta Court had handed down a sentencing and a conviction to the park for cruelty to one koala in particular, and also cruelty to other koalas. They had to pay a fine of $20,000. They had to pay over $50,000 for the veterinary treatment of one koala, and they also had to pay for the court costs. And there was a conviction, and that's what's significant, because every year at the end of June, any operation or any place that is exhibiting animals in New South Wales must obtain a permit from the Director General, who is under the Minister for Primary Industries. And Niall Blair himself, the Minister, said that if there is a conviction recorded, and he said this last year, then that does give the opportunity for the government to cancel the permit. So I put that question to him, basically, well, where are we up to now? Because a conviction has come about. And he's basically saying that they're waiting to see what the appeal is going to be, because the Koala Park is appealing the conviction and the fines, and also the Department of Primary Industries has given certain directives and orders to the Koala Park. So we still are not getting the final answer that we want, and that is that a permit needs to be removed. The permit needs to be removed from this operation. But there is the option, which I would encourage the animal groups that are interested in this particular place. There is the option to challenge a permit that is issued at the end of June this year. If the Director General issues a permit for that place to continue operating, then that can be actually appealed and challenged in the Appeals Tribunal of New South Wales. Now, the other 2 very important motions that were brought forth was one from actually the Shadow Minister for Primary Industries, and this is an important one for those people concerned about puppy farms, is at the moment there isn't really the freedom for inspectors to be able to enter and seize animals that they're concerned about when there's been proof of ongoing neglect or suffering, or the animals are in such a bad way it's clear that they need immediate attention and protection and probably veterinary intervention. So the Shadow Minister, that is the Shadow Minister for Primary Industries, Mick Veitch, who is of the Labor Party, put forth a notice of a bill that is going to amend the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, which will allow inspectors, be they police or RSPCA or Animal Welfare League or DPI inspectors, to have the powers to actually go in and seize the animals in a puppy farm, which currently they can't do. And the fifth issue was a bill by Marine Faruqi to bring in an independent animal protection authority, which would actually bring about a commission of authority under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, and a commissioner who would be totally independent of government influence on overseeing overseeing the authority which would look after animal protection. So it would be a mechanism of appeal, a mechanism of consideration and assessment, and that commissioner would have certain powers to ask his or her officers to intervene, and it would give a much higher standing for the well-being and welfare of animals in this state. So what's very important is that on this day, 5 animal issues were raised in the House, and this has never happened in the Legislative Council. And I must say that I believe the reason it is happening is that now the government, the opposition and all the other parties are turning their mind to animal well-being and the protection of animals, because the Animal Justice Party has had somebody elected into the Legislative Council of New South Wales.